For the fall of 1987, Lady and the Tramp saw its first release to home video. And this would be the first real big seller for the Disney company. This is one of the new tapes I got that I didn't make a video for. This would be one of Disney's big sellers. And it ultimately sold, I believe, 4 million copies total. This tape is actually one of my pride and joys. It's actually, if I could put you down for a second without falling. Of course you're going to fall. Oh, why not? Look at my ceiling for a moment as I take the video out. There you go. This actually looks like it's in pristine condition. This is exactly how I bought it. No print date, unfortunately, but as you can see from the home video logo, it is legit. Lady and the Tramp did sell a lot of copies. It made a lot of money for Disney. I believe it sold 3.5 to 4 million copies. Back at a time when Disney really wasn't selling that much. They weren't a big name because, to be fair, although people did have fair amounts of money in the 80s, they were sort of like less than enthralled about Disney at the time. Probably due to the Black Cauldron's failure and the Great Mouse Detective's just lack thereof of success. Now this is an older copy. In fact, it's a hand-me-down, most likely, because it has a a name tag on top of it. But as you can see, if you can, there's a little bit of a colored-in home video logo, so this one's legit too. Let's put you away. Lady and the Tramp is a pretty good Disney film. I can't really say it's A+ material. I think it's like maybe A-. It's got good songs, good animation. It's got a decent love story. I think a lot of it for a lot of people is sentimentality. Because along with Peter Pan, there really isn't that big a true fan base for this film. Like 101 Dalmatians could also have a bit of a thing like that. But anyway, the animation is still stunning. You've got good characters, if somewhat stereotyped, like like Tony and Joe were in the famous spaghetti eating scene where they sing the song Bella Notte. It's Lady and the Tramp. It's a pretty darn good film. Alice in Wonderland, along with Dumbo, were original titles that were released on home video before the Walt Disney Classics collection. They were part of just the generic Walt Disney home video line. So you would see many releases for these films, which I believe, since their releases in the Classics line, have never gone into the vault. No print date for this one, but there are ways you can tell. There are certain ways you can tell as a collector when a specific film was released. Now, I put this in the 1988 category, along with Dumbo, The Sword and the Stone, and Alice in Wonderland, because it has this this camera and tripod sticker on top. That's pretty much an authentic thing to prove that this is at the very least an authentic cover. It's not a bootlegged cover. And the previews are actually pretty weird for this film. It actually doesn't have previews. It opens up with very quick, non-cutting FBI logos, and then it has a rushed version of the Walt Disney 1984 traditional Walt Disney Classics logo. There are dozens of iterations for it on YouTube, so if you really want to see that video, go and look for it. I'm probably not going to upload one anytime soon. And then it cuts right to the movie. It's very weird. And a lot of different titles did that. I believe IMAX Nation had one. I believe it was of, shut up, cat. I believe it was of Dumbo that cut to it, but I'm not entirely sure. Alice in Wonderland. What can you say about Alice in Wonderland? It is a very, very good Disney film. Probably the most loyal adaptation of Lewis Carroll's books that has ever been done. I mean, especially recently loyal. I mean, the Tim Burton one was pretty much about as loyal to a book as you can possibly get, LOL JK. Good songs, if they're not memorable, they're still good. The animation is still breathtaking. The imagination that went into this film is fantastic to me. And over the years, it has since become a big classic in the eyes of many Disney fans, even though Walt Disney himself personally detested this film. It's a great film. I believe it ranks 15th or 16th on my list. It's either buoying with the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh or The Fox and the Hound for that title, for that spot. But yeah, that's Alice in Wonderland. Good film, good release, very easy release to find. Before I forget, Dumbo is 14th on my list, in case you're wondering. This is a 1988 reissue of Dumbo. This would be the last time you'd have this pink logo, this pink cover, though. Dumbo would change to a more stereotypical Disney logo, a Disney box after this. We will see that in maybe 5-10 minutes or so, depending on how quickly I can record these. This one shouldn't be too long at all, just showing you the videotape. No print date, unfortunately, but as you can see with the logo, it is, in fact, a legit copy. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about Dumbo again because, in all honesty, there really isn't much to talk about because I've already talked about it. Here's a video I could talk about, one we haven't discussed yet, The Sword and the Stone, one of the original 6 titles released on home video. I do not have an older copy, unfortunately. I was actually in the process of buying one, but a family emergency got me from the store, so I had to leave. I asked if they could put it on hold for me. I don't believe they did because it's been at least 6 months, and I've been there from time to time, and I kind of forgot about it. And I will explain why I kind of forgot about it at some other time. This has actually the same trailer opening stuff as Alice in Wonderland, and Dumbo has the same as well. This has a print date, though, June 25th, 1987. There is kind of a reason why I kind of forgot The Sword and the Stone, and that's because, in all honesty, can you get into the box? Thank you. In all honesty, The Sword and the Stone is a very forgettable Disney film. In an age where you could have made an animated Marvel out of King Arthur, Disney really did not take much advantage of it. They made it like a simple comedy. I guess it's not too bad, but when you think Disney, you think the best of the best, and unfortunately, The Sword and the Stone is not the best. I cannot tell you exactly where it ranks, but expect it at the bottom of the list, because aside from Merlin, maybe, who is kind of like this whimsical weirdo, sort of like Doc in Back to the Future, but in actuality, it's just not that good a film. There isn't really anything that stands out about it. So, yeah, that's The Sword and the Stone. Thank God I don't have to talk about it again when we tackle the other video, which should be in a while. Until Fantasia or The Jungle Book in 1991, I believe, this would be Disney's most successful videotape ever. Cinderella, released for the fall of 1988. I believe in October, late October. This was a huge release, and it was at the time the second most successful videotape ever, selling, I believe, 13 million copies if you include Laserdisc. The only video at the time that had sold more was E.T. the Extraterrestrial. I'm not sure if Bambi broke that title or not, stretch or not. We'll figure that out. I'll figure that out while I'm doing this. This is my only copy of Cinderella because this is actually a videotape that I grew up with. In case you guys didn't know, this was actually a tape that was at my grandmother and grandfather's house. And after my grandmother passed, my grandfather was starting to get rid of some of the older content that he had, like the childish stuff, and that was around the time I was starting to collect these, so I asked him politely if I could have this and a couple others to start my collection. One of the Aladdin tapes, actually. He said, go right ahead, and I took advantage of that. Cinderella! It is a great animated film. Stunning animation. Probably the best songs that were not written by, like, the generic group of Disney writers. Like, the Frank Churchills who wrote the songs for Pinocchio and Dumbo and Snow White. Or was it the Robinson brothers? Who are they? I'm blanking on their names. Sherman Brothers, there you go. Who wrote the songs for like the Jungle Book and stuff like that, and Winnie the Pooh, of course. Stunning animation, great villain great characters. Though I will admit the stuff with the mice can get a bit annoying, as can the fact that Cinderella and her prince, as with most princesses and princes early on in Disney, did not have much of a personality, if any at all. But this is definitely a great film. This should be a fairly easy old title for you to find. I can't guarantee you will definitely find one, but it's a pretty basic, standard Disney title to get early on for a classics collector. If you're starting to do this as you watch my videos, which I would be very happy for, because that means I would have inspired somebody. But Cinderella is an awesome movie. There. 1989, Dumbo, The Sword and the Stone, and Alice in Wonderland would all be repackaged, or at least have actual visible print dates. These two are copies of the re-release of Alice in Wonderland. Nothing really changed about it. In fact, this has the exact same tape master as the other title that I have, which includes the fast-paced credits and stuff, the intro and stuff. And then, of course, we have this one, which I got from a relative. Unfortunately, it's tape's not in the best. The tape's in good condition. The box is in pretty bad condition. I'm actually considering just getting rid of the box altogether, because it's going to fall apart. It's sort of like that box of what's it called that I had. That box of the 6 classics, which I swear if I find one day, I will make sure I can show it to you guys. Didn't show the print date for the other tape, I just realized that. August 5th, 1991, so this would be the last in that line of classics tapes. Another Alice in Wonderland tape I have would have a whole new tape master. This one is April 2nd, 1991. So take that for what it's worth. I would like to introduce you guys to Dumbo's new artwork. Yay! This would become the standard Dumbo artwork until 2001, when it would get a new artwork, of course, for the 60th anniversary. But this would actually, this stuff would actually carry over to the Masterpiece collection, as with the Sword and the Stones logo. This is another old one that I have. Whatever this is. I'm blanking on stuff now. I'm too tired for this. The print date is July 7th, 1990. 1990 print dates you'll see were a bit different. I mean, I have 2 copies of the Little Mermaid that have weird logos like that. But as you guys can see, it's fairly easy to discern. Bambi was released in the fall of 1989 to thunderous success at home video, and would be, I believe it was the most successful videotape of this year. Maybe The Wizard of Oz would outsell it, but I'm not entirely sure. Cinderella and Bambi would also be the first two to start incorporating trailers into the mix. Cinderella, which I didn't talk about in the video, and I was wondering why it was so short, had a teaser trailer for Oliver and Company. And Bambi, being released in 1989, would have a teaser trailer for The Little Mermaid, which would be released that year. No copy of Bambi I own has a print date, unfortunately. I have 2 copies, mostly because the shelf I had these stored on collapsed some time ago, and I was afraid I was going to lose all these shelves. Now, a lot of the boxes are slightly damaged or some cases irreparably damaged, so I had to buy new boxes or just not give them boxes at all, and ended up having to scrap those tapes because, ironically, those tapes would ultimately break on their own. Let's not take this out because there's really no point in taking it out if they don't have a print date, especially when I already have one out. Bambi to me is The Lion King if The Lion King wasn't if The Lion King didn't have a plot, it would probably be Bambi. I really do like Bambi. Artistically, it is probably, alongside Sleeping Beauty and Pinocchio, Disney's best work. It's got stunning animation. My personal problems with it are my personal problems with it. The fact that it's only 70 minutes long, the fact that its message for me was done so much better in Lion King. I know some people don't disagree with that, but hey, that's the internet. You're never going to get 100% of the people to agree on anything. It's statistically impossible, of course. I do love the transitions that they have between Bambi as a kid to Bambi as an adult, though I will admit the transition after Bambi's mom's death to later on in the film is actually pretty damn hilarious. If you look at it from a worldly perspective, it's pretty damn hilarious. Bambi to me is a classic. It flip-flops between with Sleeping Beauty for 13th and 12th on my list. I'll have to double check my list before I continue, because I really don't want to be that far off with some of the titles on my list. Though I don't believe we should be running into any major titles after we go through a long run of videos where we don't talk about any. Maybe 2 or 3, I'm not sure. We'll have to figure that out. But Bambi's still a great film. Nothing really else I have to say about it. It's Bambi, it's awesome. When a company can take advantage of a huge recession, you really got to give them props. In case you guys don't know, 1989, 1990 were like one of the bigger recessions in recent memory, with the exception of course, this one that we're currently in. And Disney released The Little Mermaid, a very risky title to release on home video, seeing as how when it was released in May, The Little Mermaid was actually still in theaters in places like Europe and Asia and so forth. So it was a very, very risky title to have out on home video at the time. This one actually has a vertical label. And its print date is, let me see. Oh, this one's the smudged out one. I've discerned that it's March 20th, 1990. And I have this tape. And in case you guys are here only for this, it's a penis. Moving on. Okay. I have 2 copies of The Little Mermaid, mostly because as a collector you want to have as many copies of a specific movie as possible. So again, if you get blown away by an offer, you'll be able to sell one without having to worry about not having one anymore. But Little Mermaid should be a fairly easy one for you to find as a collector. 10 million copies were at least counted, an estimate. This has a legit print date, so this is February 2nd, 1990. Let's put one away so we can look at the glorious case of The Little Mermaid. If you'll go into the box politely. Thank you. The Little Mermaid. What can I say about The Little Mermaid? It is an absolute masterpiece. I know some people aren't the biggest fans of it. I'm pretty sure one of them will be watching this video. I friggin' love The Little Mermaid. It is, if it's a bad film, it's a guilty pleasure, and if it's an amazing film, it is an amazing film. The songs are out of this world. They are some of the best the studio has ever done. The characters, fantastic. The villain, Ursula, is one of the best the studio has ever done. Even King Triton's character is very well-rounded. The story is fast-paced and good. The characters are fantastic. There's really not much. The animation is breathtaking, though at times you can notice a couple of technical errors that happened during the production. But you know what? Hey, you got to give Disney credit. They finally got a big fairy tale out. In case you're wondering, The Little Mermaid ranks 9th on my list, wedged between Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and The Hunchback of Notre Dame on my list. But if you're looking to start a Disney Classics collection, The Little Mermaid is going to be a very easy one for you to find. So, yeah, Little Mermaid. Awesome and awesome.